Hello, I'm Dr. Ted Farris from the University of North Texas, author of the Silo Manufacturing Corporation case. It's a CSCMP case. The case investigates the original 1913 economic order quantity model, which considers a trade-off between the cost to order a product and the cost to hold inventory. This model serves as a base for many ordering models throughout business. The case is not difficult. It's been completed live in an 80-minute classroom. But there's a twist. Dr. Cliff DeFee from Auburn University and I collaborated together to extend this case to the classroom throughout the world. To date, we've had over 1,500 students from 20 universities participate. The twist is that each four-person group consists of students from at least 3 universities throughout the world. Your group will have less than 2 weeks to develop a solution and present it electronically to a displaced faculty judge. Each version of the case is identical, except for different numbers. There are 3 deliverables in the exercise that all students will complete: the questions in the case, a peer evaluation, and a post-exercise survey. In addition, some faculty members may have other deliverables, such as a reflections paper. You will receive your case by email. On the front page of the case will be your case version identification, which you should use in any correspondence. There'll be a supporting web page URL and a list of your members in your group and their emails. And finally, a zero-sum peer evaluation form. More about this later. The case comes in 2 parts. Part A requires your team to apply the basic EOQ formula to make a recommendation, and then consider the concept of robustness to answer the first questions. Part B advances the concept, requiring your team to use the EOQ concept to set performance goals in light of conflicting strategic efforts in your corporation. For example, while your department is trying to reduce inventory by lowering optimum Q, sales is committing to increase annual demand, which increases optimal Q. Both are good strategically for the firm, but have to coexist. How do you do this? After answering the next couple questions, your team is asked to consider how to successfully marry EOQ with just-in-time. So the first questions guide you through quantifying the decision. The final question is qualitative. After we've determined the secret to improving EOQ, which, by the way, is reducing the cost to place an order, your team is asked to make 3 viable recommendations that would result in a lower cost to place an order. My recommendation? You only have 15 minutes to present your answers. Don't spend a lot of time presenting the first answers. Focus most of your time on answering the qualitative question. Stronger responses may be strongly supported by numbers, so do that. As a refresher, the original economic order quantity formula was developed by the mathematician F.W. Harris in 1913. However, a consultant by the name of R.H. Wilson embraced the model and applied it so extensively that he was given credit for it, and the name stuck. Using 4 variables, annual demand, cost to place an order, inventory carrying cost, and unit price, it determines the lowest total inventory cost by calculating the optimum order inventory, noted as Q*, by considering the trade-off between inventory carrying cost and ordering cost. Now, there are a lot of assumptions used for EOQ. We'll use these assumptions to assume away any uncertainty in the model. There are many assumptions behind EOQ, but before this discourages you, and you claim that EOQ could never be realistic, wait and see, because we'll discuss the concept of robustness, which will show that even with changes to these assumptions, the optimal order quantity calculated by EOQ will be very close to the best answer. The assumptions are as follows. First, we assume that our demand rate is constant and known, as is our lead time. If both these items are constant, all we have to do is hold cycle stock. We'll also assume that all orders will be delivered completely to the same location. No back orders will be permitted, as these result in additional handling costs. And while we know that holding costs are actually a step function, EOQ assumes the cost is linear. We'll also assume that all unit prices are the same, regardless of quantity. There are no quantity discounts, So the unit price for the first item is the same as the unit price for the 1 millionth item. We're also going to assume that ordering costs are constant. No matter how much time or how difficult the purchase is, we'll assume that the order cost is the same for each order. We also assume that we have an endless supply of cash, so that a recommendation for a large quantity will not be hindered by our lack of financial resources. Finally, we have an assumption that many students seem to have problems with. We will assume that there's an infinite time horizon. That is, the company is going to be in existence January 1st of next year. If economic order quantity recommends we order 2.5 times per year, we'll order twice this year and 3 times next year. Don't round EOQ. The company will continue to be in business. Now, I mentioned robustness earlier. What does this mean? It turns out that the EOQ model is very forgiving if you violate these assumptions. Once you determine the optimal Q, you'll find that a change in the quantity close to Q results in a very small change in cost. In other words, once you find Q, you can violate the assumptions and still be as close to optimal as possible. Now, when the case is active, plan on frequently visiting the supporting website. The URL is listed on the first page of the case, and when the case is active, it will be updated every 6 to 8 hours. Any questions and their corresponding answers will be posted on the website. The website also contains a timetable of events and due dates. In addition, the website is also used as a vehicle for your team to sign up for presentation times. Faculty judges have allocated 15-minute judging slots. The assignment of these time slots is on a first-come, first-served basis. So as soon as your team determines a time when every group member can be at the presentation, be sure to send in a request to smc@unt.edu for that time slot. You must copy every team member when you make the request, and once assigned, your team will receive a confirmatory email and the web page will be updated to reflect this. Make sure you check the web page before submitting your requests, as time slots fill quickly. I recommend signing up early to get the preferred time slot. All team members have to be present during the presentation. Now, after your presentation, you'll need to submit your zero-sum peer grading form, which will be found on the front page of your case. In the zero-sum scheme, you must rank the performance of your team members, including yourself. Now, only one team member can receive the highest score, and one team member must receive the lowest score. No 2 team members can receive the same score. If you're having difficulty contacting a team member, let us know at smc@unt.edu and we'll engage the appropriate faculty. Now, other recommendations that I'd like to make that will help your case experience be great. Connect early with your team members. The exercise spans many time zones, so you'll find that communication tends to be slower than face-to-face group work. Waiting until late in the exercise is going to be very problematic. You must also establish the best means of communication for your group. Historically, we have found that groups have a variety of different methods. Find what works best for your group. Final presentations will use a specific communications tool, such as Adobe Connect, though this may vary from semester to semester. Do not wait until your final presentation to practice using this tool. Other recommendations? Project management works wonderful. Consider using your basic project management techniques to divide up the work, and don't have only one person determine the numbers. Since you have a team with varying skills, challenge, how did you get that number? It promotes a lot of agreement and understanding about the case, and usually a lot of discussion. Finally, check the website daily for updates. Well, best of luck in your worldwide experience.